Our modern world is a marvel of interconnectedness. Every day, a silent, ceaseless ballet of commerce unfolds across the globe, a network of invisible threads that link us all. These threads are the trade routes, the digital highways, and the energy pipelines that fuel our societies. We wake up, switch on the lights, drive our cars, buy goods from halfway around the world. This global machine runs on a constant, uninterrupted flow, a pulse that beats with the rhythm of supply and demand. It is a system so vast and complex that it seems almost unbreakable. But what happens when one of its main arteries is suddenly shut? In the heart of the Middle East, nestled between the arid landscapes of Iran and the Arabian Peninsula, lies a sliver of water that holds the global economy in its grip. This is the Strait of Hormuz, the critical artery connecting the oil-rich Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the vast expanse of the open ocean. Its strategic importance cannot be overstated. For centuries, it has been a nexus of trade, power, and conflict. The strait is a geographical bottleneck, a narrow channel of water only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. This constrained passage is further restricted by shallow waters, forcing the world's largest supertankers into predictable deep water shipping lanes. Through this single, vulnerable passage flows a staggering 1/5 of the world's entire daily oil supply. Every single day, around 20 million barrels of crude oil and refined petroleum products are loaded onto tankers here. This river of liquid energy is destined for the industrial powerhouses of Asia, the sprawling economies of Europe, and the energy-hungry markets of North America. It is the lifeblood that fuels transportation, powers industries, and heats homes for billions of people. For major producers like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq, it is the primary route to global markets. As the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, the Strait of Hormuz is, without exaggeration, the single most important energy choke point on Earth. Its stability is a prerequisite for global economic stability. Looming over this vital waterway is Iran, which borders the strait to the north. Its long, rugged coastline provides countless locations to conceal military assets. For decades, Iran has repeatedly threatened to disrupt or completely close this passage in times of geopolitical tension. This is not a hypothetical scenario. It is a constant, simmering reality that keeps military planners and market analysts awake at night. Closing the strait isn't about building a physical wall. The true weapon is disruption. The strategic goal is to make passage so dangerous, so uncertain, and ultimately so expensive that commercial traffic grinds to a halt without a single shot being fired in a full-scale war. This can be achieved through a variety of asymmetric tactics, a few well-placed naval mines, a volley of anti-ship missiles from mobile launchers, or even sophisticated electronic warfare to spoof GPS signals can create chaos. The mere suspicion that these threats exist is often enough to paralyze all traffic. The financial markets react instantly to such threats. As demonstrated in a hypothetical 2026 conflict scenario, war, risk insurance premiums, a tiny fraction of a vessel's value in peacetime can surge uncontrollably. A jump from 0.05% of a ship's hull value to over 5% represents a 100-fold increase. For a supertanker worth hundreds of millions of dollars, this makes a single voyage economically impossible. Suddenly, no shipping company is willing to risk its assets, and no insurer is willing to underwrite the journey. The market effectively closes the strait on its own. The choke point is sealed, not by a naval blockade, but by an invisible wall of fear and insurmountable financial risk, sending shockwaves through the entire global energy system. With the Strait of Hormuz sealed, the global economy is immediately placed in a hostage situation, its lifeline severed. Financial markets, which abhor uncertainty, react with brutal speed. The very first domino to fall, with a resounding crash heard in every trading hub from New York to Tokyo, is the price of oil. This isn't just a market fluctuation, it's a seismic shock wave, the financial equivalent of a declaration of war. The International Energy Agency, the world's energy watchdog, doesn't mince words. It calls such an event the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. To put that in perspective, we are talking about the instantaneous removal of 20 million barrels per day, roughly 20% of the world's daily consumption. There is simply no spare capacity anywhere on the planet to fill a hole of this magnitude. Even if every other producer opened their taps to the maximum, it wouldn't be enough. Projections from the 2026 scenario paint a grim, almost vertical picture on trading screens. Oil prices post their largest ever monthly gain, with global benchmarks like Brent and WTI surging to over $150 per barrel, more than double their pre-conflict levels. Some panicked forecasts even predict a once unthinkable $200 barrel if the crisis persists. For ordinary people, this abstract crisis becomes painfully real at the pump. Consumers everywhere see prices surge to record highs. In the United States, the national average quickly surpasses $4, then $5 per gallon, a devastating blow to household budgets already stretched thin. The cost of a simple commute or a school run suddenly becomes a major financial burden. This price explosion acts like a virus, spreading through the arteries of the economy. Energy is a fundamental input for everything from agriculture to manufacturing. The cost of fertilizer skyrockets, threatening food supplies. The price of shipping goods explodes, so the cost of everything else on the shelf begins to rise relentlessly. This triggers the second domino, rampant inflation. Central banks, guardians of economic stability, face an impossible choice. Do they fight inflation by aggressively raising interest rates, knowingly pushing the economy into a deep recession and causing widespread job losses? Or do they let inflation run wild, destroying savings and eroding living standards? This is the toxic no-win combination known as stagflation. The third domino is global growth. China, the world's factory, is hit by a triple whammy: soaring energy costs, power rationing to conserve fuel, and a collapse in demand from Western consumers who can no longer afford its goods. Its once mighty growth forecast is slashed from over 4% to a near standstill. Ironically, the Gulf nations at the heart of the crisis are not immune. They themselves face catastrophic economic losses, projected at up to $200 billion in a single year. With their primary export route blocked and regional stability shattered, investor confidence evaporates, and their ambitious diversification plans are put on ice. The final, largest domino falls. The International Monetary Fund predicts that in a severe but plausible scenario, global growth would collapse from a fragile 3% to just 2%. This isn't just a slowdown. Any figure below 2.5% is considered a global recession. The world economy, interconnected and fragile, will be pushed firmly into a deep, prolonged, and painful downturn, with consequences felt in every corner of the globe for years to come. While the world focuses on oil, the closure unleashes a parallel crisis. The strait is a conveyor belt for the hidden ingredients of our modern world. Before the crisis, the Gulf supplied half the world's seaborne sulfur, a quarter of its ammonia, and a third of its helium irreplaceable materials for manufacturing, technology, and medicine. Most alarmingly, the disruption hits the global food supply. About 1/3 of the world's fertilizers, including sulfur and ammonia, travel through the strait. Without these nutrients, crop yields plummet. The fertilizer shortage quickly becomes a food price crisis, leading to food insecurity and the threat of famine in the world's most vulnerable nations. The weaponization of the Strait of Hormuz becomes, in effect, the weaponization of food. But the story does not end when the fighting stops. In fact, that's when the real economic war begins. This brings us to a crucial twist, a lesson learned from war games and historical precedent. Disruption persists long after the missiles do. The silence on the battlefield doesn't automatically translate to the roar of commerce returning. In the 2026 scenario, even after a ceasefire is brokered and the world breathes a collective sigh of relief, the Strait of Hormuz does not reopen. The physical blockade is suspended, the warships pull back, yet no commercial tanker dares to return. The choke point remains choked, not by force, but by fear. The fear of what's left behind, lingering mines, both sophisticated and crude, sown across hundreds of square miles of waterway, keeps insurance premiums at impossible levels. Clearing these vital sea lanes is a painstaking, dangerous, and months-long process. Until then, no insurer will underwrite a billion-dollar vessel and its cargo. The economic wound is deeper and slower to heal than the political one. So, the next time you hear about tensions near the Strait of Hormuz or any of the world's vital maritime choke points, remember this: it's not just politics or distant naval maneuvers. It's a direct threat to the intricate, fragile systems that power our modern lives. It's the flow of energy that heats our homes and fuels our transport. The stability of markets that secures our jobs and savings, and the future of the global economy balanced on a knife's edge. Because in today's interconnected world, a single choke point, a single miscalculation can change everything. The ripple effects travel at the speed of global finance, touching every corner of our lives. If you want more deep, untold stories about power, geopolitics, and the hidden systems that dictate our reality, subscribe to Dark History File. Because the world isn't just shaped by what you see on the news, but by the invisible forces you don't.